But anyway, I'd sure like to welcome everybody here. I'm glad to see a good crowd. I knew we'd have a good crowd as soon as we had a man like Jim that was coming and that was going to take over the province for us and get us to where we got to be and keep up the good work that has been done here in the past and has made this province the envy of everywhere else in Canada and even abroad. So we have 4 MLAs here with us tonight. We have the Honourable Cal Dallas, Minister of International and Intergovernmental Affairs. We have Marianne Jablonski, that is the buddy MLA for this constituency. Being there's no MLA here, Marianne will do whatever work needs done. Maureen Kubinik from Westlock Barhead. McDonald is here somewhere from Grand Prairie.
Leadership race on, and we have 3 good candidates, but I've chosen who I think is going to be the best man for the job, and I'm going to tell you why I think he's going to be the best man for the job, and then he's going to tell you a little bit more about himself. But it's really important today that we rebuild the trust and the confidence of the people of Alberta in the PC party and in the government, and I believe that Jim Prentice is the man to do that. Jim is a lawyer. He has expertise in property rights, something that we need to understand well here in Alberta, because we all feel very strong about our property rights. He also has the ability, and he's demonstrated that ability, to be able to negotiate with First Nations. Another thing that's very important to us here in Alberta, and it's a real rare skill. You know, he's a North American authority on the world energy market. Something else we need in Alberta. He will be a strong leader. He is a strong leader. This man has strong principles and strong values. It's one of the reasons why I chose to support Jim. And Cal's here, and he had a chance to speak. He would tell you that he also strongly supports Jim, as well as Maureen and Everett. There's 45 MLAs who have chosen to support this man. We believe he's the man for the job.
Well, thank you, Marianne, ladies and gentlemen, and I think all of the MLAs have been introduced. Thank you so much to each of you for coming out. And thank you especially. I want to just ask everybody to give me a help here, saying thanks to Luke for organizing this and all that. Luke said, come on up this way, he said we're going to have a big turnout, and boy, he wasn't kidding. So it's great to see so many people out, and everywhere that I've been going in the province, we've had big crowds. I'll come back to that in a minute because it tells you what's going on in the party. But before I get there, I don't want anybody thinking that they need to vote for me because I'm a lawyer. My other habits are good. I haven't practiced law in a long time. My other habits are good. I am going to ask for your support, but the reason is because I love this province, and this province, like for all of you, it's my province. I raised my kids here. My grandkids are being raised here. And this province, ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you what it needs. It needs leadership. Yes. Right now. And so I'm doing this because I love this place and because we need leadership. And I'll tell you why. It's because we have a really fine caucus. And many of them are here tonight. You know them. They're friends of yours. We've got a really fine group of men and women, but we need leadership. We need a sense of direction of where this province is going. We need to be a fiscally responsible conservative government, and we need to be compassionate. And I'm going to speak to you about the go forward agenda. But that's the reason that I'm running. Now, some of you I think know a bit about my background. Maybe not everybody does. I actually come from an old hockey family. I'm a hockey player myself still. I'm not much good at it anymore, but I still play. But my dad was the youngest guy to ever play for Toronto Maple Leafs. I know this is hockey country up here, so I'm going to Sutter country, I know, but I'm going to share some of this. So my dad played for, he's passed away now, but he played for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He was the youngest guy ever, to play for the Leafs. He wasn't there very long. He was there, as he said, for a cup of coffee. But he stepped on Babe Pratt's toe in the dressing room. And Dad always said they took Babe Pratt off to the hospital and they sent Dad to the minors. And so I was taught not to cheer for the Leafs. But my dad had 5 kids, and back in those days, hockey players didn't make any money. I know it's a hard thing to believe. His contract, he was kind of an indentured servant to the Leafs. He got $5,000, which he gave to his father. And so my dad had 5 kids, and so eventually he loaded all the kids in the car and drove to Alberta. And we went essentially up to Grand Cache when the coal mining town opened up there. And that's when my dad made his way from being a miner to working as an accountant. And so I was raised in an Alberta family that I think is the same as all of your families. It's a family that's lived the dream of what it is to be an Albertan in a province where there's lots of opportunity, where we respect hard work. And my own story, I'll tell you folks, is just the story of a guy who's come from this province and has worked hard. And you know, my family eventually moved down to the Crow's Nest Pass, and I worked under the bins in the coal mines for 7 years to put myself through university. I used to work, you know, 16-hour shifts breaking rocks without a lick of sunlight anywhere around, and that's what I did to get my way in this province. And so it's all based on hard work for all of us as Albertans. And so my story is really the Alberta story. So I've decided that I'm going to step into this. My wife Karen is part of it. She's not here tonight because we're trying to juggle our grandkids as well. And so she thought that she needed to get back to Calgary and see them. The little guy is 3. He's not sure why his grandpa won't get out of the newspaper, but he finds it sort of entertaining. And the little girl is 3 months, and all she knows about me are my eyebrows, which kind of makes her laugh. So I'm looking forward to getting back to seeing them. So what are we going to do about this party? And I'll talk a bit about policy, but let's talk about the party. I've been around this party, friends, a long time. I joined this party 40 years ago this year. I was brought to this party by a premier and a leader of our party that had a vision of where we were going. He listened to people, but he knew where he was taking the province. And that was Peter Lougheed. And he became, in my time in federal politics, he became a bit of a mentor of mine, and I used to call on Peter for his advice and counsel. But with Peter Lougheed, we were building a great province. We had a sense of where we were going. The government had a sense of direction. It was fiscally responsible. It took care of taxpayers' dollars. We treated every single dollar of the taxpayers with respect, and we had a strong sense of who we were and where we were going. And folks, what Albertans want, most of all, right now, in this province, is for us to get our act together and be that party again. You trust me, because I'm hearing that everywhere I go in this province right at the moment. And everywhere I go to speak in Alberta, the crowds are 2 and 3 times what we thought they were going to be, and it's because people want to believe in this party, ladies and gentlemen. And we can do this, we're good at this, and we've been a party that's been fiscally responsible but has been compassionate, has been progressive. We've done that for a long time, and if we get back on our game, Albertans are going to be there to support us. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about policy tonight, because I don't think you folks came here to do that, and I don't want to ruin your dinner. But the priority that I'm speaking with Albertans about is basically 5 things. Firstly, we're going to be a party that's fiscally responsible. And my friends, that, you know, comes down to making sure that we run balanced budgets, that we are in the surplus, that we have numbers that we produce that Albertans can trust, and that we make sure we take those surpluses and we use them to pay down our debt, put half of it to pay down our debt and half of it in our savings account. You know, none of this is rocket science. None of this is high finance. I didn't learn any of this as a banker. I learned it from my mom, who raised 5 kids with no money. And you know, there's a lot of people here who are of that same generation. My parents didn't have debt. They couldn't accumulate debt, but every month that my mom was alive, she'd put $1 or $2 into a savings account, because that was the way that you ran your family finances. And so we need to do the same thing. I'm going to come back to the specific problem that we have with infrastructure. I'll come back to that in a minute. But this is the first thing. We're going to be fiscally responsible. We're going to have a leaner government, a trimmer government, and folks, it's going to start with a smaller cabinet. Because the cabinet that we have in this province is the biggest in the country for any province, and we have to get leaner and trimmer as a government. The second thing is what I refer to as, and what Marianne referred to as, regaining trust of the electorate. And you know, I can tell you all kinds of things and rules we're going to bring in, and you know, I can speak about all that, but that's not really the point. The point is the tone from the top. The point is, what kind of premier are we going to have? What kind of leader are we going to have? And is it going to be somebody that treats the taxpayers' money with respect? And so I'm just going to tell you one thing about me. I was in federal politics for 10 years. I was a federal cabinet minister for 6 years. In those 6 years, I never even carried a Government of Canada credit card. I refused to have one, refused to have it in my wallet, sent it back to them, and every single expense that I accumulated or made as a minister of the federal government, I put on my personal credit card. And then I sought reimbursement if it was an expense that warranted reimbursement. So you can Google me, and I've been A-tipped by every political party that exists in Canada to try to find something that they can make a story about, but you won't find anything, because there wasn't 5 cents of controversy about my expenses when I was a federal cabinet minister. And that's because we treat taxpayers' dollars with respect. If you're in public service, it's called public service for a reason. You're a servant of the public, and anybody who works with me in government, they'll be held to one very simple standard, and that's that if you're in public service, you're a servant of the people of Alberta, and that's how you're going to conduct yourself. The third agenda item that I've been running on is basically that we are a powerhouse. And everywhere you go in the world, people talk about Alberta because they know how lucky we are. I mean, here we sit on 50% of the investable energy resources in the world, in our province. We are the luckiest people on the planet. But friends, we can't continue to have the prosperity that we want for our kids and our grandkids if we're just going to be a supplier to the United States of agricultural products and energy products. You can't have one customer. And so it's time for us to get these pipelines built to the West Coast. It's time for us to open up the Asia-Pacific Basin. Time for us to get our forestry products, our agricultural products, agri-food, as well as energy into the Asia-Pacific Basin. Because we have everything that the world wants. We are, you go to Malaysia, China, Japan, Korea, Singapore. What they want is what Alberta produces. And we need a government that shows leadership in terms of opening those markets and then gets out of the way so the private sector can deliver. The fourth point is that I just wanted to mention was basically the environment. I was Canada's Environment Minister, and we've been off our game on this for a long time as Albertans. I know what it's like because I went to Copenhagen. We were public enemy number 1. I had to have the RCMP to protect me 24/7. Couldn't go to the washroom without the RCMP. And we've got to get back on our game, because I don't know any farmers and ranchers in this province who are not the most passionate conservationists that I know. Right? They are, exactly. That's who they are. That's who they are, and that's who we are, and we're going to get back on our game as being a world leader when it comes to the environment. Now, the final thing I'm just going to mention, the fifth priority, basically the quality of life issues. How we take care of our kids in schools, how we take care of those of us that get sick in our hospitals, how we take care of our seniors. And here's what I hear from Albertans everywhere I go. They say, listen, we are one of the wealthiest jurisdictions in North America. We've got talented people. We should aspire to have the best public health care, the best public education, and the best care for our seniors of anybody in North America. And why can't we do that? Well, I'll tell you, we can do that if we just focus on it. It's a job that's never going to end. But we can be the best in terms of the quality of life issues if we just get focused on it, and we're prepared to be innovative, and we're prepared to rethink some of this. Now, when we talk about that, there's one big issue in this province right now. And you're hearing about a lot of that from a different political party. And here's the problem, my friends. We have developed an infrastructure deficit in this province that is bigger than any of us realize. You can go anywhere in this province, Medicine Hat, you can go to Fort McMurray, everywhere in between, and we've got multiple schools under construction, we've got hospitals under construction, we've got roads that have to be built. The infrastructure deficit in this province is enormous. And it's nobody's fault. It's not about blaming anybody. It's a fact that we've got 3 times the population growth in Alberta of anybody else in Canada. Our population's gone from about 2 million people when I started work to over 4.1 million people today. Headed to 5 million people before the decade's out. 5 million people in Alberta. Whoever thought we'd see that day? Well, here's the problem. Every time 100,000 new people come to our province, they bring 15,000 school kids. And 15,000 school kids equates to 28 new schools. Just like do the math, that's what it works out to. And so if our population is growing by the millions, we're going to have to build schools, we're going to have to build roads, we're going to have to build ring roads, we're going to have to build all the things that Albertans expect if they're going to have quality services. And I'll tell you this, if I am fortunate enough to be picked as the leader of this party, school kids in my province and your province are not going to be educated in makeshift schools. They're not going to be in portables. They're not going to be in schools that don't have gymnasiums and playing fields. They're going to be in proper schools, ladies and gentlemen. So the reason this becomes a big issue, and I'm going on here and I'm going to come to a close, but the reason this is a big issue right now is because there's another political party that says there's a mattress somewhere that's got $20 billion underneath it. Now, if anybody knows where it is, come and see me tonight, but I haven't found it. And so are we going to have kids in makeshift schools for 10 years? Well, you know, while we accumulate the cash to build these public facilities? That's not the way that we should run this province. And so I say it's like a family. This is not complicated. It's, you know, there aren't many people on this patio who bought their house with cash.
Yes.
I know I didn't. I envy anybody who did, but that's not how Karen and I got ahead. So you took out a mortgage. And you took out a mortgage you could afford, and that's what we're going to have to do. I can't tell you today exactly how much we're going to need to borrow because I'm not at the cabinet table. I'm an outsider, just like you folks are. But we're going to find out what that number is. We're going to cap it, and we're going to make sure that we pay that debt off on an accelerated basis over 15 years. And we're going to report to Albertans twice a year in a report card from the Legislative Assembly that's going to show Albertans exactly what we're building, exactly where we're building it, exactly how much it's costing, and whether or not it's on schedule, because that's the transparency that folks want. And so that's how we're going to go about building this, and we'll minimize any public debt, and we're going to be responsible, but we're not going to educate our kids in makeshift schools, and we're not going to have people lined up down the hallway in makeshift hospitals, and we're not going to have our senior citizens living 100 kilometers away from their family and their friends. So the last thing I'll say, and then I want everybody to get on with having a good party here, because I love this party, and I've supported it basically since I was 16 years old and was recruited to it. All of you have done the same. What's kept me in this party, at the end of the day, I was attracted to it by Peter Lougheed, but what's kept me in it was the people. Was the people who are passionate about the government that we give to Albertans and what we owe to Albertans. And you're all represented here in way bigger numbers than Luke and I had expected tonight. And I just want to say thank you to all of you for your service to the party, and thank you for sticking with us. And thanks for sticking with the party through some tough times that have strained all of us. Every single person, not a single person on this veranda who hasn't had that strained over the course of the last couple of years. And that includes me. But thank you for sticking with us. And let me tell you what I've seen crisscrossing the province. Everywhere that we go and everywhere that Karen and I are stopping to talk to people, we're getting crowds like this that are way bigger than we expected. I spoke to the Chamber of Commerce in Edmonton. The event sold out in 45 minutes. They could have sold 3 times as many tickets as they did because people want to come and they want to hear about what we're going to do with the province. I spoke in Calgary. They had to actually join 2 rooms together to get everybody in it, and the same thing. We've been in Brooks, we've been in Drumheller, we've been in Medicine Hat. It was same thing in Fort McMurray. Everywhere we go, crowds are coming out. People are coming back to the party. People that have been part of a different political party are coming back and saying, we want to believe, we want to move forward. And so folks, that's what it's about. That's what this leadership race is about. There's 2 other candidates running. They're fine guys. I don't campaign against them. I'm not running against anybody. I wish them well. I want to beat them, but I wish them well. I'm running on exactly what I've talked to you about, and I'm going to run like I'm 4 votes behind all summer, and I'm going to take this message to every single Albertan that I can get a chance to speak with. And so thank you for being here. The last thing I'm going to say is, you see I'm carrying a membership book in my pocket. I need your help. If you believe in what I'm talking about, I need your help, and you have to take out a membership, and you have to get your friends to take out a membership. Every single one of us can take one of these books and sell 20 memberships. And it's not just for me and Marianne and Maureen and Everett and Luke and the rest of it. It's to rebuild the base of the party. Because if we come out of this leadership race and we've got 100,000 new members in this party, I'll tell you, people are going to sit up and take notice. And so thank you very much, folks. Thank you all for being here. On behalf of both Karen and I, it does my heart a world of good to see you all. And thank you and God bless.